Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to an impromptu refilming of this video. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen I had spent a whole weekend filming 3 videos, this one and 2 declutters, but my microphone misbehaved or probably had an empty battery, so there was no audio for those videos. Since I cannot just, quit because of it, I am refilming today my Melt Cosmetics Amor Eterno dupe video, or duping the vibes of the 2 palettes. To start off, I was so excited for these palettes. Honestly, I was so impressed with the novelty of the color combination, especially in the Muerte palette. I was super excited. And I really want to purchase it. I've been budgeting for it, I've been decluttering and selling pieces of makeup for it. And I don't know, I'm really excited. I own 3 Melt palettes so far, and the quality of them has only impressed me in a very positive way. So I thought, well, I'm gonna purchase them. However, since they are, 1, very expensive, and 2, probably will be sold out really quickly, I thought, well, let me first look into my collection and see if I have similar shades or similar vibes, things that I can, use instead, and create a few looks and see if I want to change my mind. When I filmed this video for the first time, I was actually just super enthusiastic and I told you, well, I am gonna buy them. They release on the 29th of November, both on Melt Cosmetics, Sephora and Beauty Bay the same day, which is super exciting. Usually Beauty Bay gets them a few weeks later, so I'm actually very excited that they are released the same day in Europe as well. However, this time I may have doubts. And hear me out. The doubts come from Temptalia's review, which only gives Muerte a B, and that is because the shimmers are not very good and the mattes were a bit difficult to work with and needed some, tips and tricks to work. And the second reason is that I actually have these shades to some extent or something similar, and I realized they're actually not something that I would wear often. This doesn't mean that I won't buy the palettes. I still need to think about it. They are 53 euros and $58 each, so it's gonna be an expense of over 100 euros for me to buy them both. So that's a main thing. On the other hand, I have bought Melt Radioactive, and it's not really a color combination that I use on a regular basis. So that's a bit the thing. I created this look with my dupes. You'll also see another look on my Instagram, which was the look that I created for the previous video with the shades in the 2 palettes. So without further ado, let's get into duping the Melt Amor Eterno Muerte and Vida palette. Thankfully, there was a secret sale and secret launch of the Amor Eterno collection. I keep Amor Muerte and I want to call them the same thing. Anyway, the Amor Eterno collection launched briefly for 24 hours. So we're now seeing finally swatches of people who are receiving these palettes, as well as some swatches reposted on Melt stories, for example. So I'm going off of those and kind of choosing 2 different types of dupes. One are my single eyeshadows, and we are going to go through this palette of mine that I put together with all the single shadows that I thought would fit this palette. And on the other hand, also my pre-made palettes and shades in there that could be used in alternative. Small thing, please ignore my skin. I don't know what's wrong, but the foundation I'm using is going on horribly, so I'm trying to fix it. With a lot of blush, mainly. I hope that doesn't bother you. If it does, my apologies, but can't do anything about it. Now, let's get started. let's start with the Muerte palette because it's the one I was most excited about. We're talking beautiful shades of blue and red, dark, deep inspiration, but still very saturated colors. I really like the inspiration for it. Starting from the blue side, let's say, there is the first shimmer. This one is the one that actually has the worst reviews from Temptalia, which I'm really sad about, but yeah. Nothing really to do. Apparently it's pressed very hard, so it's very hard to get off of the pan, but on the other hand it's a positive because then you won't have these lifting problems that they had at the beginning with Gemini and Smoke Sessions. I have two options for you there. One is from Lethal Cosmetics and the shade is Venom, and this is a beautiful light blue shimmer with a little bit of a warmer shift. You can see it, there's a little bit of a more greeny shift to the blue base, and I think this one would actually probably look quite similar. And another option is Tiny Tangerines by Colourpop, which is instead a little bit darker and a little bit less sheeny, let's say. I think this one is overall a little bit too dark. Another thing that we have to talk about with these palettes is the fact that I find a lot of overlap with the palettes that they already have. And that's a bit sad because they don't have a lot of palettes in their collection, so they could have done something different. And what I refer to is the fact that this first shade in the Muerte palette is so similar to this one. Melt has shown comparison swatches on their Instagram stories of this, and they show that Sweet Tooth in the Smoke Sessions is a little bit or much greener, or not even much, it's greener than the one in the Muerte palette. So therefore I think Venom by Lethal Cosmetics is a good alternative. And you can see, however, that I don't think you need all of them, especially in palettes from the same brand. I think it's a bit too close by, but that is just my opinion. Next, we have a matte bright shade, and this is my alternative, Dragonfly by Makeup Geek. And I saw Temptalia mentioned it actually. Again, Temptalia's article came out after I had originally filmed this, so my apologies, but now I have more information. I will add it, that it may be a little bit darker than the one in the palette, but it is a bright matte teal. Is it a teal? I guess it's a teal. I don't know, to me teals are a bit darker, but it's like a blue-green type of situation right there. I think that is quite spot on. Also, I use that shade so little in the years that I have it, because for me mattes don't go all over the lid. I prefer shimmers all over the lid. But that's okay. So that's a shade I'm not sure I would use very much. And this is what happened last time as well. It's like I swatch these options and I'm like, but I didn't use this in years. I have it and I only swatch it ever. But that's okay. The next shade is a dark, deep teal. And this one, I have two single eyeshadow options for you here. One is Makeup Geek Time Travel. And if you look at the pan, it looks like it actually traveled to the floor for like at least once, unfortunately, but it still works and it's still quite a nice eyeshadow. This is a dark muted teal, leaning on the blue side, I guess. Very pigmented, nice. I use it, I don't know, I don't use it a lot because I use another shade that I'll show you right away. This next one is instead Inglot number 340. Right here, and it's a little bit more blue and a little bit less muted, so maybe it could be a closer dupe. I'm not sure, but as you can see, there's at least two in my single collection that I have. And then the biggest option, an alternative in my opinion, is in Subculture. In Subculture we have my favorite dark teal, which is Axis up here, and yeah, it is unbeatable when it comes to this type of shades. It is so pigmented, a little bit greener than all of the others if you can see them in comparison, but it's deep, it's rich, it's difficult to use, maybe if you have to blend it in on large areas, but that is subculture for you. So if you have it, you already have a shade like that. And yeah, I use these teals quite a bit. There's also another one in my collection, sorry, I almost forgot, in the Dream Street palette by Colourpop, this guy right here. Easier to use, less pigmented, but it does give the same effect. So also a great option right here if you were just interested in that dark teal. So these are the first few shades. I'm gonna switch arm because otherwise I'm gonna start going this way. Next we have a dark gray. It looks in swatches like a very, very dark gray, but it's definitely a gray. So one route you could go is just use a black. That's always an option. There's a lot of blacks that are not so pigmented like the ones in the Anastasia palettes. What I chose is a gray, and this is Chiaroscuro by Nabla Cosmetics. This formula of their feather mattes is amazing. I love it to pieces, and this is a nice gray. It may not be as dark as the one in the palette, but honestly I never use it because I don't use grays. So this would be also something to think about in shades of the palettes that I wouldn't use. It's so hard to do dupes and find all the dupes and then say, I'm gonna buy the palette anyway. Difficult. Next shade up is a dark blue, and for dark blue I always refer back to Blue Velvet by Nabla, also from their what is it, Velvet Mattes formula. And it is deep, it is rich, maybe not deep enough compared to the one in the palette. That's the only doubt that I have, but I'm not sure you would go much deeper than this with it looking still blue. This is really beautiful. Again, I use it occasionally when I'm looking for a dark blue, and yeah, that is that. I think that covers it quite nicely. I'm thinking if I have something in palettes, but that type of blue is not really often in palettes. Next up we have another shimmer, and this is a deep blue with some sparkle, and I think Colourpop made a great shade for that, and it's this one here called Antimatter. This one is a bit of a duochrome. It has a dark smoky base, and it is definitely a blue, but depends on the light that hits it. It has some purple reflects. I don't know if you can see them here, but if I put my hand horizontal, I from here see purple. So yeah, but looked at it like that, it's definitely a blue, dark blue with a sparkly shift. Nice shade, perfect for like these dark smoky eyes, which you can do with all these dark blue smoky shades. Moving on to the half palette that is, I think, more wearable for everybody, which is the reds. I love them. I am so excited that there's so many beautiful dark reds, but admittedly, I have a lot of them. I'm gonna pull out the palette so that I don't swatch them all, but you can see right here, these four, and this one, fifth one, are what I pulled out as dupes for the two dark red shades. I'm gonna just pick one of each for each so that I don't go on and swatch 20,000 eyeshadows and we are here all night, or all day actually. But for the darkest one, I thought I would pick out Facet by Colourpop. This one works very well. I have it today in the outer corner of my eye, and it blends well, it swatches well, it works well on the eyes, and it's a dark red. The problem with dark reds, it's you either go purple or you go brown. It's a very difficult balance there. Mentions that you can, of other shades that you could have, is Cherry Cola by Makeup Geek. Aphrodite by Makeup Geek is a very, very dark shade. And then towards the lighter shade, you can have, for example, Bitten by Makeup Geek, or this one that I will swatch for you, which is Fahrenheit by Nabla. Fahrenheit has their regular matte formula, so it's not a great swatcher, but it works well on the eyes, it blends well, and I use it happily. Let me see if I can build it up a bit. I'm looking at myself in a mirror there, or in the viewfinder there. My apologies if it's not pretty to see. And that one is the darker two reds right there. And I think, yeah, I don't know, I love reds. As you can see, I'm wearing today a mix of my dupes for both of the palettes, but the dark red is to deepen the outer corner. Next up we have the bright red, and for the bright red there is only one red that exists in my heart and in my collection, and that is Love Plus by Sugar Pill. There is nothing like this shade. I don't have anything that comes close. I will show you in a minute something similar, but I think it's a little bit darker, so actually it could fall in between all of these shades. But Sugar Pill Love Plus is the best red matte eyeshadow in the beauty market, I find. This is perfection. It's beautiful, it works great, you can blend it out, you can build it up, it's fantastic. Sugar Pill mattes are wonderful. I pulled out my Colored Rain Vivid Brights palette, and the shade up here, Sauced, is also a very, very nice red. I think it's a little bit darker. Yeah, or a bit warmer maybe, but this would also be an option if you have the palette or if you have the single shadow that launched before the palette. So yeah, that one there. I think it's a little bit warmer. They look really similar though. There was me saying that nothing else exists than Love Plus by Sugar Pill, and instead. The final shade in the palette is a cream shimmer, and it looks like a little bit of a topper. I'm not sure, maybe it's the way it swatches that is not really showing up well in like finger swatches that are not, I wouldn't say doctored, but that are not like really pressed on. It looks a bit chunky. I know Temptalia didn't love the shimmers in this one. I picked out Rapunzel by Makeup Geek. It's not one of those newer formula foils or like super shimmery metallic shades or glittery shades. This is just an old school shimmer, but you can see that the shine that it gives is really nice. It's a nice warm cream shimmer. So in this one also I use it very little because I prefer to have a little bit of a darker shimmer on my lid, but it works well. I have it today in my inner corner. It works well for an inner corner highlight. So that was the Muerte palette. What do you think? Tell me in the comments down below whether, if you were me, you would buy it. I am afraid that the answer should be no. And yeah, that makes me think that maybe I shouldn't be spending 100 euros. Let's talk about it. Next up, I guess, is the Vida palette. The Vida palette has these beautiful, vibrant, light, colorful shades that definitely remind me of Mexico, where this inspiration for this collection comes from. I think that message is also absolutely fantastic. Oh, who are you? Who are you? And I really like that the founders of Melt Cosmetics are working with their heritage and their memories of their time with their grandparents to create something like this. I think it makes it really, really unique. However, let's get back into the duping. I kind of found a lot of things that come close, so let's start with that. The first shade is a shimmery green. I don't really have a shimmery green of that tone, so what I chose was my shimmery green of choice, which is Vertex by Lethal Cosmetics. This is a beautiful shade. I hunted for it, or rather I had to wait for it to restock, and I was really, really happy with it. It's extremely reflective. Their formula is fantastic. If you haven't heard my review, I'll leave it in the cards up here. I love the Lethal Cosmetics, especially the shimmery formula. This is a very pretty green. It's still quite acidic and a little bit yellow. Another option is in the Good Sport palette, and it is this green right here. However, you can already see it, and I can compare this one with it. This is quite a bit more neutral. There's a bit more gold in it, a little bit more olive. It's a little bit warmer, more wearable. The one in the Vida palette definitely looks like a straight up grass green shimmer. So I don't really have anything that close to that one, but this one would be my choice in my collection. Next up, we have quite a neon-y, again, acid green. I don't know if it's a word in English. I'm thinking about it because I know it is a word in Italian, but I have two single shadow options. Another one from Lethal Cosmetics. This time this is Relapse. This is a little bit lighter, I think, than the one in the palette, and a little bit more pastel leaning. There we go. However, it is a acid green, neon green. Another option is a green that I use every time I need a green, is this one right here. This is Inglot 288. These Inglot mattes blend like a dream and work really, really well. And that's that one right there. You can see that it's a little bit more, or maybe I should deepen the swatch up, a little bit more, less pastel, a little bit more normal green. Another green option is in the Colored Rain palette, this guy right here, but I think this guy is just too green for this palette duping. I don't think that it comes really that close. Then another obvious option is the green that is in the Radioactive palette, the shade Xenon, and hence if you have the Radioactive stack, you have it as well. And it's this guy here. And I actually think it is really, really close to the one in the palette. Let me see if I can make the swatch bigger. I think it's really close to the one in the palette, and that brings me again to the question, why are we doubling up on shades? They're too close to be in two palettes coming up so close to each other. I don't know, not my preference. Next up is a yellow, and depending on what swatch photo you look at, it's either a yellow or it is a little bit more greeny yellow, greeny acidic yellow. If it's a greeny yellow, don't really have anything like that in my collection. If it's a yellow, I have a ton, and I can refer you to my yellow eyeshadow collection from last year that I will link in the cards. I have a ton of yellows. You have a ton of yellows because this was the year of yellow and green. But again, we have a beautiful bright canary yellow in the Radioactive palette. Why would we have another one in the Vida palette? Well, let me maybe swatch it properly. There we go. A beautiful yellow. We have a ton of them in our collections. Another very good option is Sugar Pill Buttercup. You have Colourpop Cosmetics Take Flight. You have the yellow in this palette, which is great. And I don't know, a ton of yellows. Yellows are everywhere nowadays. Moving on to the neutrals, the swatches I am looking at are from All Things Makeup 99. And from here, this shade looks quite a bit deeper than I expected, and also a little bit more green. So I had picked up this shade Creased by Makeup Geek, and this is a poopy brown, but it's mid to light tone. It's not a very dark shade. So I think this one misses a bit the mark of comparing it to the palette because it's a bit too light and not green enough. But then looking again at Subculture, you have this shade right here that's called Destiny. That could be an option. And I didn't mention earlier, but the shade All Star could have been a red dupe for the Muerte. Sorry, I forgot about that one. So yeah, you have an option right here. It is, in the end, it's a dark green. I thought it could have been duped in the Gemini, but I think in the Gemini, it's just actual greens here, and it's not brownie greens. That one looks like a brownie green. It's one of these poopy greens that I seem to have in every palette, and then I don't actually have dupes for. That happens as well. So that one there, I cannot really dupe exactly. Moving on to the dark brown, I have two options. It looks like that one is quite neutral. It's not too warm or too cool. One option is Nocturnal by Lethal Cosmetics, and I think this is a really good dupe for that shade. It is a really nice deep brown. There you go. And otherwise, also an option is Grunge by Makeup Geek, but I think this one is a touch too cool toned, a little bit maybe too much gray in there, but also a very dark shade. My apologies for the swatches. We're going into arm territory. I have quite pokey bones on my wrists, so it's not working out great. But you can see the idea. Now we are on the other side of the palette, and we're having a light nude next, and I picked out what I think is actually quite a good one, is White Truffle by Nabla Cosmetics. It's like a Dove shade. It is less cool toned in the swatch than in the pan. Let me show you the pan right there. Or at least I feel like it looks a little bit less cool toned, but I think it's a good dupe for the one in the Vida palette. And then we're finally at the colorful shades. The next one is a light orange, and I think we can all think of options for this shade. Automatic ones that come in my mind are Chickadee by Makeup Geek or Early Bird, one of the two. Chickadee is a bit more yellow, Early Bird is a little bit more orange. But since I've showed these to you all the time, especially in my Duping the Tribe palette, here I chose a different one, which is Koi by Colourpop, which I just threw on the desk. Luckily there's a desk. And this one here is maybe a little bit more pastel than the one in the palette, but it really depends on what swatches you look at. Some of them are more, they look more vibrant, so it might also be just saturation of the photo. So that one is this one right here. If instead we're gonna go a little bit more orange than that, the other option is Cycle by Lethal Cosmetics, and Cycle is an orange pastel, and you can see that there is less there's less yellow in this shade, and it is a little bit more pastel. There's a bit more white in there. Anyways, two good options for that shade as well. And then we move on to a straight up orange. I love orange eyeshadow. I think it's really great, and it was one of my favorite things to have. I have two options for you here. Flame Point, wrong eyeshadow. Flame Point by Sugar Pill. This guy right here is a beautiful orange. By now though, you know that these don't swatch well, so bear with me while I build up the swatch. There we go, a straight up orange, very nice and vibrant. Another option is Cannonball from Colourpop, which is a little bit deeper, and this will swatch also much better, of course. It's a little bit deeper right here, and I think that works also much better. Thing is, Colourpop is not always available to everybody because of customs and stuff like that, whereas Sugar Pill you can get from Beauty Bay, and you can never go wrong with investing in a Sugar Pill matte colorful shade. Just saying. Next up is a shimmery shade, and I think this is so stunning. I saw it on people's looks. It is absolutely beautiful. I picked out for my single option Echo by Lethal Cosmetics. This one has a touch of a pink shift in it, so maybe that is just a little bit off. I think the base is the same, but Echo has a bit of a pink shift. But I think the closest dupe I have, and at this point I need to take my Fitbit off so that I can still swatch for you, is in the Color Drain Safari palette. This shade right here, Tigress, here is, I think, the perfect spot on dupe. I am wearing it today on my eyes. It's a shimmer on my lid, and it is the most beautiful orange, but like flame color shimmer right here. It is fantastic, stunning, beautiful, works great on the eyes. I think this is a straight up dupe for that shade in the Vida palette, and I just love it. I can't stop looking at my eyes. I love it. And final shade for the Vida palette is a more bright red. It looks just more neon-y as a shade, and I picked Oh Ship from Colourpop. This is one of my favorite neon shades that I own. I have it today in the crease on this outer bit, whereas I put the oranges in the inner part, and it works so well. It's so nicely blendable. I had it in my previous look as well, and it is just It's a bright red neon. I love it. I really, really love this eyeshadow. Quality-wise and color-wise, I can definitely recommend it. Because it's a neon, it is a natural thing for me to look at the Radioactive palette again. And we have this shade right here called Radon, but it is a little bit more orange. And I think it's too neon to be a dupe for the orange, and too orange to be a dupe for the red. That's at least my opinion on this. So guys, I think this rounds up a little bit the dupes for the Vida and Muerte palettes. Here's the Vida. Let me know down below, what would you do if you were me? Would you buy the palettes? I think I have so many of these shadows that I could dupe it with that maybe I shouldn't. On the other hand, the artwork is gorgeous. The inspiration behind it is gorgeous. I know that the melt formula works for me. I love my Gemini, Smoke Session and Radioactive palettes. So I don't know. I am not 100% convinced that I should buy them, but then again, I really wanted them. But then again, this video and filming it last time kind of changed my mind. Help me please down in the comments below and let me know if I missed anything. If I did, I will add it in the description box. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was useful for you. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to keep up with me, my decluttering that is happening right now. If you haven't seen that, check out the videos that are on my channel on my declutter. That's happening every week, and I think I'll ramp it up. And I asked you on Instagram about Vlogmas. Do we care about Vlogmas? It wouldn't be vlogs. It would be mainly just more videos during the month of December. I cannot commit to 5 videos a week or 7 videos a week or a video every day until Christmas. I think that's too much, especially because I work full-time in a non-interesting, non-beauty related job. It's very interesting, it's just not beauty related. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!